All of a sudden, I hear like this rattling at the window, like tap, 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 tap. And I look out and I see like this woman at the window and she's like rattling at our window. And I thought, if there's a woman here and she squished her way through the wall, I'm just gonna go to sleep. She can't get it.
They did everything that I saw. They were sitting cross-legged in the grass and looked like they were talking to each other, and they still had their sticks with them, but there was only two.
I feel like they think I'm just making this fancy story up to make our Thailand experience more interesting. I feel like I'm lying when I tell this story. It's not something that, you know, that you think would happen to you because you're so sane.
Creepy old graveyards, forgotten tombs, logical places for ghostly encounters, right? I'm Lawrence Chow. Like you, I associate ghosts with cemeteries, mausoleums, and ancient temples. And we're not alone. Folklore connecting ghosts with burial sites has been around since man began telling stories. But what if you saw a ghost in a place like that? It would make sense on a certain level, but it would be hard to believe your eyes. That's the dilemma that Lana Lowchuk and Veronica Harding feel they faced. Two women will meet today on Ghostly Encounters. Lana and her friend Rhonda were visiting Thailand when their seemingly idyllic beachfront bungalow turned out to be anything but.
It was my second time actually in Thailand, and I decided to go with a friend, and I was just traveling around, enjoying life. We got to this island we went on to an all-night boat trip, and when we got there, it was really, really late at night, and it was dark, and when we got there, they had a whole bunch of drivers with these trucks, and they would load the passengers on in the back of the trucks, and they'd say, you know, go to this hotel, you know, come to my hotel. And because it was really late and we were tired, pretty much the first guy who came up to us, he's like, come to my hotel, and we asked him how much it was. And he said it was 200 baht a night, and we thought, okay, that's pretty reasonable. We jumped in the back, and nobody else went on. It was just me and her, and we're like, this is a little sketchy. But then when we got there, it was beautiful, it was brand new, which is very rare for some of these bungalows. And they put us in this bungalow way in the back next to this really big brick wall, and it was angled. And he said where the brick wall led to, here was our bungalow, and then there was a pathway to the beach. So we decided to go for a walk to go see the tides. As we're walking down this path, I just remember being like really scared, and I think Rhonda was having the same sort of feelings. Even though it's really warm and it's tropical and you've got this tropical air, you feel this cold chill, and you feel just this spine tingling chill that doesn't feel right. And I just remember walking and not being able to see where I am and feeling like there's just something lurking and there's something in the bushes, and you know, everything is just emphasized, like the sounds are even louder than normal. So just feeling this really strange, like, oh, we're not supposed to be here, and there's something out there that doesn't want us here. There was really nobody else there, and this really strange, secluded feeling, and it felt very, very dark and eerie. We went back into the bungalow, and the way the room was shaped was, it was a big square. And there was one window at one side, another window at another side, and there was two beds on either side of the windows. Where my window was, where that brick wall was, no person could walk through it. It was really, really, really narrow. But it came up pretty high, but you know, an animal could run through there because it was about yay big, about that wide. remember like just about when I was about to drift off and go to sleep, I heard this dog just like crying for dear life, and he's like, "Arr!" He's like looking behind him, and I'm looking out the window and I see him running through there, like something's chasing him, like something wanted to kill him, and I thought, oh God. So I like went and I closed all the doors, made sure that they were locked, which I've never actually done in Thailand. You've never needed to lock anything. And I even locked, I remember these shutter windows that we had. I remember locking the latch at the bottom, and it was really hot, and thinking, you know, I don't care if there's not enough air coming in here, because whatever that dog's scared of, I'm sure I don't want to meet it. And I went back to sleep. About I don't know, maybe it was a half an hour later, Rhonda starts going crazy. She gets up from her bed, she starts flipping to the other side. And I'm like, oh, that's really weird. I didn't say anything to her. I went back to sleep, and I think it felt like another 10 minutes went by, and all of a sudden I hear like this rattling at the window, like tap, 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 and I look out, and I see like this woman at the window, and she's like rattling at our window, and she's tapping on it, and she's got this big blonde hair, and she was not Thai. She was a white woman, but she looked really ghostly, like she looked pale and gaunt. And I thought, okay, I'm dreaming. I don't want to look at this woman. If there's a woman here and she squished her way through the wall, I'm just gonna go to sleep. She can't get in. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I feel this entity, and I look up, and there's this woman, the same woman that was at my window, hovering above me. I hear this rattling at my windows, like tap, 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 tap. And I look out, and there's this blonde, like white-haired woman, and she wasn't Thai, and I didn't know, you know, she didn't even look real. She looked very pale and ghostly, and she was wearing this bright blue sarong. And I thought, okay, I must be dreaming. If she really needs to get inside here, she's gonna try again. She'll knock at the front door instead of the window. So I just, you know, covered myself up with my sleeping bag and went back to sleep. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I feel this entity, and I look up, and there's this woman, the same woman that was at my window, hovering above me, and she was taking my blanket, and she was like trying to cover me. And I just freaked out, and I went under my sleeping bag, and I thought, okay, I'm having a strange dream. I must have been some of the hot Thai curry that I'm not used to, because this is not happening. I was almost in like almost a sleepy haze that I didn't feel as though she was real. I couldn't tell if she was real, but she was floating above me, and her hair was even floating, almost like she was in water. She was very urgent about what she wanted to do. Like, I don't know why she wanted to blanket me. Like, she just felt very urgent and she felt scared herself. Like, the rattling at the window was like, I have to be really quiet, but I need to wake you up. I felt like she wanted to suffocate me. Like, she wanted to kill me. I felt like she didn't want us there, that, you know, this was her spot, and there was 2 young girls there, and it pissed her off. She was like kind of lifting it towards me, and I was just staring at her hair and the blue sarong that she was wearing, and she just was ever so calmly trying to cover me with this blanket. It wasn't like a happy, I think you're cold and I want to cover you energy. It felt, honestly, like I felt that feeling I had as a child, like this energy is pushing me down into my bed and wanted to hurt me, and wanted to do some harm or enter my body or take my spirit, because they don't have a living being. I don't know, it just felt wrong. It felt as though she really wanted to hurt me or kill me. Finally, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I turned on the bathroom light, And Rhonda looked at me, she's like, what are you doing? I go, need light. I just need light. I need to sleep in light. She goes, good idea, need light. We definitely need light. I barely slept. I don't really remember. I just barely slept. I just remember lying in bed most of the night and just waiting for the sun to come up. And I just wanted there to be more light around me and outside. We woke up in the morning, and I sat up at the bed, and I looked at, I'm getting goosebumps even just telling the story again. I looked at Rhonda, and I said, did something funny happen last night? And she's like, yeah, did something weird happen to you last night? I go, yeah, I think there was someone at the window. She goes, me too. And I said, was it a woman? She goes, yeah. And I go, she wasn't Thai, she was blonde. She goes, yeah, she was at the window. And I go, yeah, she tried to blanket me in the middle of the night. She goes, I'm getting out of here, let's get out of here. We like packed our bags. We started running out of the bungalow. The owner of the bungalow, he's like, where are you going, where are you going? And we like literally threw the keys at him. We're like, we're just leaving. We are just going, I don't care, I don't want to be here. We ended up hitchhiking because we're in the middle of the country. We had no idea where we were. We hitchhiked into town. We got there and we got into another bungalow, and it was in the city, and it was noisy and it was dirty, and I didn't care. But this is the weird thing. This is where it doesn't end. The next day, I just remember sitting on the beach and someone telling us about, oh, you haven't seen the whole island. It's really beautiful. You should go see the Temple of the Dead. And we're like, ooh, Temple of the Dead. Sounds really spooky. And we're like, okay, why not? We go and we take a day trip the next day out there, and we're like taking snapshots. And I look over and I'm like, Rhonda, look over there. And it was like, you know, a few hundred meters away. And there's the resort, you know, right there in plain view. The resort where we stayed at, and I can see our bungalow. And I'm like, Rhonda, there's our bungalow. And she goes, figures, just figures. And she's like, well, okay, we'll just write it off as a Scooby-Doo adventure.
What is unexplainable in the Western world is sometimes logical elsewhere on the globe. In Thailand, there is a popular belief that when someone dies, a relative has to cremate or bless the body. If that isn't done, or if the body is missing, they believe the person will appear as a ghost over and over until their corpse is found. And so, after the devastating tsunami of 2004, there were many reports of foreign ghosts terrifying locals. Could this be why the foreign ghosts appeared to Lana? Did she need a proper burial? Or is there another explanation, a story that circulates to scare travelers in Asia, as Lana discovered when she returned home?
I had this lump in my throat, and I felt, oh my God, I could have died that night. I look up, and there's this woman, the same woman that was at my window, hovering above me, and she was taking my blanket. She was like trying to cover me. Many years later, when I met this guy and we were talking about experiences in Thailand and everything, and I told him the ghost story, and he told me about this foreign white-haired woman that actually haunts throughout Asia and kills foreigners. It dropped, like my gut dropped, and like I had this lump in my throat, and I felt, oh my God, I could have died that night. Like maybe this was real, and maybe it was some sort of poltergeist or some sort of spirit that was very angry that actually suffocates people. And if that's actually real, that I could have died that night.
Lana still has trouble explaining what she experienced that night in Thailand, even though her friend Rhonda says she saw the ghost too. Veronica Harding states flat out that though she doesn't believe in ghosts, she knows what she has seen. Yet unlike Lana, Veronica was the only witness to her touching ghost story, and in her case, that makes it all the more chilling.
It happened up north. A friend of mine was changing where he was doing his auctions, and we decided to pay him a visit because he was just starting out. I guess what we were in was the community center. Across the street was a graveyard. We got the auction number. We got seats in about the middle of the auction. My kids were bored, and so they asked me if they could go out and play, and they walked over to the graveyard. And there's no traffic where we were. There was absolutely no traffic. So when I looked over, they were in the graveyard, the two of them, and they said they were looking for their ancestors, which I found quite humorous because my side's from Yugoslavia and my husband's from England. So I thought they weren't doing any harm, and there was no people around, so I let them stay in the graveyard and play. And I went back to the auction and just changed my seat so I could look outside the door and watch them at the same time. And there was the two of them, and they seemed to be having a pretty good time, so I left them alone. Later on, when I looked over, I saw a third child there. So I thought that was great because it's going to keep them occupied because they're going to be bored with each other. But with a third child there, it was going to be more fun for them. So I watched the three of them play, and they were having a good time. They played tag, and then they had sticks, and they were sort of going through, I guess, looking for bugs. And it looked like they were talking to each other and communicating, and they were sitting, sort of sitting circular in the middle of the graveyard. This sounds terrible, doesn't it? They're sitting circular in the graveyard, and they were talking and playing. This went on for, a bit of time, half hour, 45 minutes, I guess. And by that time, the auction was over. We ended up paying for whatever, we bought, and we were loading up the car. So I let the kids continue to play, but when I looked over, the other child was gone. So I called the boys over to come to get back in the car because we were going to go headed home. So I asked the boys, and I said, did you have a good time? And they said, no, we hate it. Don't make us come back here again. We don't like the auctions. And I said, well, it couldn't have been that bad because I saw you playing with your friend. They said, what friend? And I said, well, I saw you guys. I said, you were all playing out there, and you were running around after each other, and you're looking for bugs through the grass, and you're all talking. You were sitting down talking to each other. And my oldest said, Mom, he said there was only two of us there. There was no other child there. I sort of felt sick to my stomach because I know I saw 3 children. They say that there wasn't. I mean, if there was, I think they would have told me, but there wasn't a third child there. So I just sort of felt sick. They did everything that I saw. They had sticks in their hand, and it looked like they were going through the grass looking for bugs. They were sitting cross-legged in the grass and looked like they were talking to each other, and they still had their sticks with them, but there was only 2. There wasn't a third child, so it had to be a ghost. But, had I still been at the auction, I probably would have gone through the graveyard to see the gravestones, about dates. It could have been a child that died from a long time ago. Well, it's funny, because my sons are older now. They're 18 and 13, but they never forgot it. They still do this do-do-do-do-do-do to me, but I was pretty adamant in what I saw. So I think that they realized that I did see something. I think maybe it had something to do with the kids, because it was a child. It wasn't an adult. It was a child that was young. The fact that he's in a graveyard means that he died very early and never had the opportunity to play with kids.
Veronica's encounter didn't trigger any personal or religious quests. She remains a skeptic to this day. But Lana's experience helped kickstart a spiritual awakening. Though she was terrified, Lana ultimately was comforted because her experience convinced her there is life after death. These 2 women continue to struggle to make sense of their strange experiences, one resisting, one embracing an understanding that has the potential to turn their worlds inside out.
I don't know, in a way, it made me feel a bit calmer, thinking that there is something after death. It kind of made me search for more spirituality in my life and have a better understanding instead of just feeling kind of lost in this world. So to me, I think it was a positive experience because kind of opened my eyes up.
No, I still don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts, but I know what I saw, and it's something that it's always there because you can always see the kids playing. But there's certain things in your life that you'll always remember, even if your memory starts fading, but there's certain things, and that's one thing I don't think I'll ever forget.